I was the president of the Senate in Georgia when we passed the heartbeat bill in Georgia. I was very intimately involved with the way this process went through. I spent a lot of time meeting with Democrats and trying to get their take and input. Looking back now, there was no way to capture all of the special circumstances, the exceptions, the nuances. There was no way to do that in some sort of legislative period of time. And so I recognize that now. And so to hear these stories are heartbreaking and avoidable. And, if you just purely look through a political lens, this is a losing issue for Republicans, and primarily because of primaries, right? Is you watch these primaries play out and these debates play out, you watch them try to race each other to the right, no exceptions, period, and on one thing after another. But from an empathy standpoint, I do think Kamala Harris made a really, really strong statement that made a huge effect in our House when she took this notion of you don't have to step away from your faith to agree that the government shouldn't have a say-so in your life.
Well, I think many people would disagree with that.
I thought that was an important
Jeff,
part.
that's the key point that the Republican Party used to argue, right? There used to be a libertarian and conservative argument that was anti-government, government stay out of my body, government stay out of personal choice decisions, right? That's the part that's disappeared, and you now see a very particular strain of evangelical definition of conception that goes back to an embryo, which I would compare a seed to a tree, and that actually does more to harm religious freedom, religious liberty, and right to health care access.
I think
but when you talk about protecting preborn lives, and I think that's the argument that Christians and conservatives across the country make, I don't think that is not in line with what you're saying. Yes, we don't want the government in our lives. We don't want them reaching into our pockets. We don't want them telling us what to do. But at the same time, when you're
legislating it. When you believe that that is a baby,
you're not legislating. You don't believe in murdering him, so you can't murder a preborn baby either. If that's the belief that you, if that's the belief that you have, and that's the belief that many evangelical Christians and Catholics have across the country.
Respect others. This is a multi-faith, pluralistic democracy.
You can have respect for each other. And you can have multiple faiths, you can also protect preborn babies' lives.
When the government gets in the way of allowing medicine and science to help families, which is not only to make sure women survive one of the most dangerous things that women can go through, which is a pregnancy, but also even the issue of IVF and how to expand your family, we have gone off the rails.
Yeah, and I think that it's wild because we're actually all agreeing on the tragedy of these deaths, and then they become this meta political argument as opposed to what could be done. And I really appreciate your perspective being on the front lines of this legislation, saying, hey, there wasn't enough clarity, there wasn't enough ability to think through all these things, and we're seeing these women. The Harris campaign released an ad today, timely, Hallie Duvall's story, this woman in Kentucky.
Let me go ahead and just play it because we have that ad.
Oh, great.
I've never slept a full night in my entire life. I was 5 years old when my stepfather abused me for the first time. I just felt like I was alone on a planet with a monster. I was 12 when he impregnated me. I just remember thinking I have to get out of my skin. I was a child. I didn't know what it meant to be pregnant at all. But I had options. Because Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, girls and women all over the country have lost the right to choose, even for rape or incest.
That's, absolutely nauseating. Nauseating ad and story. It's incredibly powerful.
It's brutally powerful, and she's sort of unassailable in her narrative, and I pity any Republican who wants to sort of have to deal with that. The only thing I'd say about all this, I know it's shocking that I've been dying to dive into this conversation, is that I think the ProPublica piece that this is all based on did not do a very good job about laying this out. It felt like it was leading with its ideological priors, and it got to some really inconvenient facts for the narrative, not until after the 60th paragraph. But that said, I agree with you entirely that the actual stories of these deaths, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice or somewhere in the middle, are tragic, and they are the inevitable consequence of the changing of the law. So I agree with that entirely. But some of this is also possibly attributable to the responses to the changing of the law, insofar as in one of these cases, the abortion pill that was taken later than it's supposed to be, because now it has essentially all access thing, which normally would have been done much more closely under a doctor's care. And so you have reactions to reactions to reactions that make the story much more muddled.
Isn't that the whole problem? Is that when there are abortion restrictions, women are kind of left on their own
to figure out a way.
Navigate this,
Yeah,
and it makes a process that doesn't have to be life-threatening. And just one last question to you, because of your role in that Georgia bill. When you hear about the misunderstandings, the misinterpretations, the delays in care, is that something that makes you think that these kinds of laws at 6 weeks could have unintended consequences to the point that they do not serve the purpose that they are supposed to
Well,
serve?
certainly we're watching unintended consequences. I would never want to see that story from that ad play out. I would never want to see any of these lives in jeopardy or even be at risk. And so certainly the system has got to be nimble enough to be bigger than politics, bigger than winning races. So you have to be able to sit two sides of the argument down at the table at the same time and to be able to walk through and layer in additional nuances, additional opportunities to protect.
Do you
use
regret
empathy.
6 weeks?
You know, my wife and I have talked about this. We sat there and made the decision that we recognize as a family life when the heartbeat starts. We watched our 3 kids' hearts beat the first time we went to go see sonograms. That's where our personal life recognizes it. I do agree with the Kamala Harris point where you don't have to step on your faith. And all agree that the government shouldn't step in the way. But we also have to be able to have a conversation that doesn't take the extremes. It doesn't take end-term abortion and no exceptions. We ought to, some of the most effective things I did as lieutenant governor was sit in the same room with 2 opposite sides and shrink the size of the problem down. And I think that's where the solutions to this really legitimately sit for more Americans.
Do you know who does have great solutions to this? The medical community, who have trained and been raised and been following the science for decades, because the reality is abortions happened before Roe v. Wade. They were unsafe, they were dangerous, and once they were covered and part of a medical process, better choices, better healthcare choices have been made.
Yeah, but we're looking at the opposite in Georgia right now.